بالجامعه وباهتمامكم بالعراق، واحنا دائما مش اي شيء تحتاجون احنا حاضرين، احنا اولاد
ممنونين منك، ممنونين. انت علم من اعلام العراق الحقيقه.
الله
ان شاء الله
يسلمك.
من خلال جامعتك وجد نقدر نقدم شيء لهذا البلد.
بارك الله فيك، يسلمك ويعزك، تسلم لي، اشكرك شكرا جزيلا. طبعا هي زميله وبنفس الوقت هي يعني نشتغل مع بعض بالبحث العلمي. so we work very close together with Professor Jamila. She works on her main subject usually is more to do with using AI with different application, and today she's going to talk about education for the future. So yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Dia, for this brief introductions. Actually, as a manager of the Research and Development Office at the University of Technology, I would like to, I am very pleased to introduce Professor Jamila. We are going to have a lecture today about the IR4, Industrial Revolution 4, in our program as a lecture in our program guest speaker seminar. So Dr. Jamila, again, we are very pleased here at University of Technology to have you here with us in our program. You are going to boost our program with this lecture. Thank you, Dr. Jamila. Please, you have the mic.
Thank you, Dr. Amjad, and thank you for, let me extend my gratitude for inviting me to participate. As I've told you, I've been to Iraq and I've done some online lectures to some Iraqi universities, and I've been having the best time, and it's a great honor for me to have a talk today for my colleagues in Iraq. Yes, let me start my presentation, and I hope you can see it clearly.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So my talk today is called Education for the Future, Synchronizing with Industry 4.0. So let me just first say just a few words about myself. I'm coming from Tatarstan, which is the region within Russia, and we call it the heartbeat of Russia. Why we call it that? So you can see it's just really in the heart of Russia. In the bottom corner, you see the map of Russia, and the orange spot is Tatarstan. And on the pink place is our republic and its capital, Kazan. Kazan is a beautiful city, 1,000 years old. It's older than Moscow. It's just in the heart of Russia, and just 1 hour flight from Moscow. You can see some sites here. In 2019, Kazan Federal University hosted Development and System Engineering Conference. And I remember that we arranged more than 70 visas to Kazan for our Iraqi colleagues. And we had a lot of our Iraqi professors and other colleagues, lecturers visiting Kazan. I hope they enjoyed it. I myself visited Iraq just a year ago. That was one of the best trips of my life. And I'm very happy today to continue the collaboration with Iraqi universities during this meeting. Kazan Federal University is one of the oldest universities of Russia. You can see it's our beautiful main building in the heart of Kazan. If you remember, if you know, some of us maybe know Russian politician Lenin, he actually studied at the Department of Law here for 1 year. And some other famous writers, politicians, lawyers studied there. We are second oldest university in Russia with more than 45 students. We are a comprehensive university, and I am today representing Kazan Federal University for my colleagues in Iraq. So let's go back to my talk, and so education of the future. The first thing I want to ask, to talk about is, why do we need to think about the education of the future? Well, when we invest in something, we might invest in property, we invest in stock shares, we invest in other assets. We always think how it's going to work for us, how it's going to benefit us in the future. It's going to be safe, it's going to rise in price, it's still going to be an asset and valuable asset. So, but when we talk about education, it's actually the future itself. So the children that start school today are going to graduate in 11 or 12 years, and they are going to enter the labor market around 2032. Is the world going to be the same in 2032? Without any doubt, we can say no. So actually today we are dealing at schools with graduates of tomorrow. So it means that when we do our education, when we work in education, we have to think about the future. And so when we talk about education of the future, we have to answer some questions. And when we are thinking about arranging the efficient education of the future, we have to answer the question, first of all, how will the world look like in 15 or 20 years? And when we try to have this vision, when we imagine this world, we have to answer the second question. What are the essential skills that people will need to be able to live successful and comfortable life there? And as educationalists, we have to think, what do we have to teach children and grown-ups so that they can do the things that are necessary in this future? And how do we teach them? Well, to answer the first question, how the world will look like in 15, 20 years, it's really very difficult, but at the same time, there are some techniques that can help us to at least visualize, envision more or less reliably what the world will look like in 15, 20 years. There are techniques called foresight, which is kind of prediction. And in any areas, the approach, this approach presupposes that we are inviting the ecosystemic groups. And you see the picture of Professor Luksha. He's a very famous educationalist. He's a professor of Moscow School of Management and Skolkovo. It's kind of Russian Silicon Valley. And in his project called Rapid Foresight, they developed that vision of the education of the future. So how can we practically envision the future? So we invite different stakeholders, for example, first of all, existing industry leaders, those who are developing industry today. We invite customers, we invite suppliers, we invite people who are making the regulation of the processes, we invite those who are trying to build new products today in the industry, which are startups, and researchers. So Professor Luksha with his team did that with education, and actually they come up with some vision of what the future might look like in 15 or 20 years and what role of education in this future might be. So the second thing which I want to talk about is that if you want to envision the future, we have to think about the transformative global trends of today. What are the global trends of today? Of course, here I mentioned just three, while there are, of course, many, but within this talk, we are going to talk about these three. The first is automation. So, of course, automation is not something that we happened today. So actually, it's happened in UK in the middle of the 17th century, but its epic development happened in the 20th century, and which continued in the 21st. With the new interest that came back to the artificial intelligence today, we have cheap robots, we have very efficient algorithms, and first of all, it's affecting the economy, it's affecting the labor market. So there are some jobs that are likely to be absolutely substituted with automation. For example, the job of a driver. So the companies like Volvo, like Toyota, and like Tesla, for example, are investing a lot in developing the algorithms for driving all types of vehicles. And there is an opinion that seriously, within maybe next 10, 15 years, more or less earlier or later, the legislative system will be developed to forbid humans to drive the vehicles, any types of cars, because there will be no comparison between the driving of the algorithms of artificial intelligence and a human in terms of safety. And so it means that millions of people, taxi drivers, cargo and passenger transportation drivers, will lose their jobs. And actually, there are other jobs that can be lost. According to some estimations, from 45 to 70% jobs will disappear. And actually, it's very hard to predict which job is going to be automated. We just have to wait for an economically favorable moment for this or that job to be automated. Actually, the skills that people learn, it's just the kind of, repetition. We repeat some actions, intellectual or physical, so we master the skill and we become good at it. So in any standardized action, in any patterns, we can automate that job if there is any pattern. So that's why, and even we can say that it's not only about some physical activities, it's also about intellectual activities. For example, a famous Bloomberg is using automated journalists to create the news, sport news, weather forecasts, and these news are actually more appealing to the reader. They are using lively language, they are more interesting. So then we have to say that countries like Japan or Germany, they are moving towards cyber physical system in production with almost zero engagement of a human being, where the whole plants and factories are functioning with the Internet of Things, with cyber physical systems which do not engage humans at all. So in this environment, in this context, what are the skills that can more or less guarantee a person that his job will not be automated? So we can talk about two types of skills here. And the first is the creative skills, creativity. And we are not talking about just like art or something like this. We are talking about scientific creativity, for example, managerial creativity. Creativity is the ability to come up with something new solution, new idea, new approach, new product, any creativity. That's the skill that will make a person competitive in the future. So it means that in our education process, we have to engage creativity at all aspects of it, starting from schools, teaching all range of disciplines. Creativity should be part of our educational process because it's going to become an essential skill for the future. The second set of skills can be called the emotional intelligence, the ability to be empathetic, empathy, and the ability to be compassionate. So the global challenges of today are not possible to handle them. It is not possible to handle them alone. So they are, you only can handle them and deal with them if you're working in a team. We have to create communities, we have to create teams to be efficient in 21st century. And to be able to create these communities or be part of the team, we need to be able to feel for other people. We need to be able to be attentive to other people's feelings. We need to be able to be compassionate. So this ability to be really good communicator, compassionate, kind, if I may say so, means that when we are teaching our kids at schools, at universities, we have to teach them not only to gain knowledge, not only how to gain knowledge, but how to be a good person, empathetic person, compassionate person. So those are the two sets of skills in general that are going to make us competitive in the so-called human-centered industries. The next trend, which is present on the slide, is digitalization. And here we talk about probably the unprecedented revolution in the way we communicate today. So the types of communication that we have today is something that we cannot imagine, we couldn't imagine just 30, 40 years ago. The revolution in terms of the information has changed the life from fighting for information, for going and searching for information, to making efforts to get information, to the world where there is too much information. And just imagine that every minute there are more than 70 hours of video downloaded on YouTube. There are more than 200 million emails sent every minute all over the world. There are 2 million posts are created on Facebook. So this is how we communicate today. So the volume of information for the average person is extraordinary today. There is an estimation that an average citizen of a city gets the information in 1 year in the amount that an average person living in the village used to get during his whole life. So probably we have to we have to say that we are moving towards the time when anybody can access all the information of the world from any place of the world. So, and actually, how do we live in this world of saturated with information? We change the way we learn, and actually we don't need facts anymore. The facts are there on the internet. So probably we don't need to know a lot of facts that we used to study and to learn before. But at the same time, we need to have a map of knowledge in our mind. We are talking about searching behavior. We are talking about searching skills. So we probably don't need to know the height of the mountain, but if you want to find information on the internet, we need to know the title of the mountain. We need to know that this mountain exists actually. And so we have to know how to ask for this information. So this is another skill. Well, then there are a lot of ways of comprehending the reality. For example, we are dealing with the world now through the tablets, through the smartphones. We are communicating with the world through them. We are getting information, we are sending information through smartphones. And then there is augmented and virtual reality. For the kids who were born just a few years ago, this augmented and virtual reality will be everyday thing that will be very commonplace for them. So probably for them, it will be difficult to say what is real, what is not, when the virtual reality is a reality for them. So again, these are the new interfaces that we have to deal with, and we have to teach kids how to live with them. And probably one of the most exciting things that are happening today is Internet of Things. And if we talk about automation, and this is the revolution in the industry, then Internet of Things is going to happen to the end user. We are going to live in the world where every item around us, everything is going to have intelligent component in it. We might have intelligent shoes, for example, who are counting the calories we burned during the day. And these shoes are going to communicate with our intelligent refrigerator about how much is healthy for us to eat today. Just a very simple and maybe very example about it. So it means that all the items around us, things that we are using every day, are going to have intelligent component, are going to be intelligent. So it means that we are going to live in the logic that there is a technology around us. There are technological solutions that are creating certain scenarios for us. So it means that every person has to understand the basics of programming. It will not be the exceptional skill of some people, IT specialists, because we will be surrounded in everyday life, things that are programmed to serve us, intelligent things. It will stop being the exclusive understanding of the programming. At least the basic things will be the essential skill of every person. And probably the last thing I'm going to talk about, to tell about digitalization, is that in the world where the information is everywhere and there is actually too much of it, one more skill is how we are going to focus our attention. So the attention management is something that we have to teach for our kids and for the people of the future, because today we are still not comfortable with the amount of information around us. We do not know how to deal with it, how to focus, how to unfocus, how to distract. We don't know how to set our priorities and to reject some information, to accept some information, to find true information. So this is also the focus, and the attention management in terms of information is going to be the essential skill. And the third and the last trend I'm going to talk about today, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit in more detail, is the growth of complexity. Growth of complexity in the world. Our world is changing very fast now. So the technological cycle of the innovation is becoming very short. Just to prove it, I'm going to show you this slide where you see the period of time when the critical technological innovation penetrated our lives and become the everyday commonplace, everyday routine for at least 25% of population. So telephone took 35 years, personal computer took 14 years, mobile phones 13, and smartphones just 4 years. So we see that the innovation are penetrating and becoming our everyday life tools very quickly. But it's not only about them, it's about how this tempo, how these dynamics are changing our lives, the lives we live. For example, the age people started marrying, how many children they have, what rights they enjoy. This is all affected by how innovation is penetrated into our life. For example, if we talk about working in one place, it was common in the middle of the 20th century to work in one place for 15, 20 years. While today in the developed countries, it's around 4 years. And in the dynamic sectors, like, for example, Silicon Valley, it's just 18 months. And if we were, for example, talk about the IT sector, we had certain programming languages for each period of time, and they're changing every 5 years. So if you studied to be the IT specialist 10 years ago and you haven't updated your knowledge since then, you are not qualified anymore for that area. So there is also a demographic shift, which means that we are living longer lives, we're having long careers, we are staying longer active. So the new literacies of 21st century are, we have to constantly learn. We cannot anymore rely that once and for all, we are going to study at university, get our degree, and we are going to benefit from it till the rest of our life. We have to learn, we have to relearn something, and most importantly, we have to unlearn some things. We have to forget things that we don't need anymore if there are new things that we have to master. And one of the famous writers, I mean, I forgot his name, he's American, he said that in today's world, the literal person and educated person is not the one who can read or write. Or we can say that illiterate person is not the one who cannot read or write. The illiterate person, uneducated person, is someone who cannot relearn the things again, who cannot learn new things. This is the illiterate person of today. Well, with the demographic shift and longer life expectancies, we are facing the world where mature and elderly people are living longer life, they are active, they have demand in services, they have demand in entertainment, and because they are active, they have demand in education, because they are an active part of the industry. So the lifelong learning becomes not only the, as it used to be, something that keeps elderly people engaged, doesn't let him feel lost. No, it becomes the necessity, it becomes the reality, because the career cycle is going to be 70, 75 years. The life expectancy all over the world average days like 75. In some developed countries is 85. There is an estimation that in developed countries, kids that were born after 2010 are going to live for around 100 years. And it's not about like some advancement in the medicine. We are only talking about very slow improvement of life expectancy. Of course, if the medicine goes forward and has the breakthrough about the age, it will be longer. But 100 years for people born after 2010 is just a natural a natural improvement of life expectancy. So imagine people living that long. Of course, they will be having longer careers. And of course, the technological cycle will change maybe several times during a person's life. So he will have to learn and relearn. This is the new skill that we have always, to relearn the things. Global challenges will not allow us to work and handle the problems alone. So we have to learn how to work in a team. And as I've said, these are the skills of compassion and of empathy. And we will have to live in uncertainty, because the technological advancements will always create new environment for us. There will be nothing guaranteed. And actually, if we are able to live in uncertainty comfortably and successfully, it means that we are competitive in the future. The skills that I've mentioned, like, for example, digital literacy, which today is more of an exclusive skills of specialists in the area, will become mass skills. We will need to acquire entrepreneurial thinking, and that will again become something that is needed for everybody, because we will need to always think out of the box. We will have to be flexible and adaptable again to the change. We have to come up with new solutions, with new ideas. So it means that mass skills will include entrepreneurial thinking, while today it's only the skill of around 3 or 4% of population. And communication skills, because probably that will some kind of add the human value to us, where in the era when everything can be automated and substituted by the machines, the things that make us human, and these are communication skills as well, will be valued. Here, I want to talk a little bit about, just sum up what we've talked about. And you see the slide presenting the 20th century paradigm and 21st century paradigm in terms of the complexity. So the technological cycle used to occupy a period within a few generations, and it was very common to have one career during one life, and it was okay to study once and for all, have the job and follow that professional path very comfortably without too much updating the knowledge and the skills. Today, the paradigm has changed, and you can see that during the life, people experiencing a few technological cycles during the person's life. So it means that he has to be ready to change the career. He has to be ready for the altering his environment. He has to be ready to forget what he learned and learn something new. He is going to live longer. It means that his career cycle, the active period of his time is going to be longer. And the things that are going, the shifts that are going to happen in his life can be very challenging. And we, in terms of education, we have to prepare people for that. Okay. So, well, let's talk about now the competencies and skills for the future. Well, you can see in this slide an old model of the competencies, which with blue we have the hard skills. These are the skills that are usually taught at the universities, and this is, you see that they are in the center of the old model. They occupy the majority of it. These are the skills closely connected with some technological tools, technological environment, technological cycle. And actually, there is a place for some soft skills. They are more connected with some, personalized features like leadership, like communication skills. They are desirable, but they are not in the center. And if you don't have it, you can be happy with the hard skills, the hard skills you master. And so this is a kind of a paradigm that was created in the second half of the 19th century. A majority of the principles of the education, university education and school education were created in the second half of 19th century, when the life expectancy all over the world was maximum 35-40 years. For example, in Russia, it was just 30 years. Of course, nobody thought of lifelong learning or careership that time. It was obvious that the person is going to work in one place and enjoy and benefit from the skills he has learned. So, but today, with the life expectancy of 85 years and the career cycle maybe of 60-65 years, we are still applying the same principles and teaching at our universities majority mainly hard skills. Well, but look at the new model. Well, it's kind of going upside down. You can see that contextual and special skills, the hard skills, which are connected with some kind of technological environment or technological cycle, They are on the surface. These are the skills that we have to learn. Probably we have to relearn and we have to unlearn. So we cannot afford to spend too much time for learning them because they might disappear within the next 3-4 years. So we shouldn't spend, we cannot afford to spend years for that. They should be learned within months. So the next layer are cross-contextual skills. And you can see in this new model, they are much more important than hard skills. They are more universal and they can be applied in a lot of cross-contextual environments. These are the skills that I've mentioned, these new literacies. For example, project management, time management, financial literacy, digital literacy, information hygiene, information literacy. All these cross-contextual skills will help us to succeed in any technological cycle. In any job, these cross-contextual skills will help us be more successful. And actually, they are necessary to be able to change contextual skills, to be more flexible, to comfortably relearn and unlearn things. So you see in this paradigm, cross-contextual skills are more important, more universal than hard skills. And here we come to the last point. And you see in the center, in the red color, the existential skills or meta skills. What are these skills? These skills are connected with the personality of a person, and we are going to talk about them a little bit in detail. So what are these skills for? These skills are teaching us to live in a complex society, in a changing society of strategic uncertainty. These are all the new literacies, which I've mentioned before. And here you can see the 7 existential skills that are in the center of that model. And they are much more important than the hard skills, and they are much more important than cross-contextual skills as well. The first skill that is mentioned here is awareness and attention management. As I have mentioned before, the information-saturated world creates new challenges. We have to be able, this skills allows us to focus our attention, to be aware of what's happening, to set our goals, to know what we want, and to know what we don't want and what we don't need. So attention management, it's absolutely essential for the, for example, people who are managing, who are managers, because they have so much information, and not only they have to process it just for some trivial reasons, they have to make decisions on that. So it means that attention management is the crucial thing for the future. The second skill is resilience. This skill is connected with the management of the resources, our resources, own resources. How are we able to manage our time, to manage our health? How we are going to create this work-life balance? How are we going to take care of our health, of our physical, mental, and social life? So how we are going to manage our resources so that we stay strong and healthy in terms of mental and physical activity. So these skills to be able to manage our own resources, all types of resources, is called resilience, is considered one of the key skills, existential skills for the future. The third one is readiness to act and determination. So this skill is connected with the fact that in the future, people are going to live in strategic, so-called strategic uncertainty. So the changes that are going to happen are unexpected. They create stressful situations, they create uncomfortable situations, they create probably anxiety. And those people who are able not to get crushed by them, who are not going to collapse and who are ready to act in this environment and act with determination, they are going to be really competitive in the future. And this skill is something that creates the person of the future, successful person of the future. The fourth skill is openness and growth mindset. this is a very important skill and is connected with the, again, feeling comfortable with the change, openness to the new ideas, openness to the change, openness to the shifts in your career, in your life. Well, those people who have this growth mindset, who are feeling comfortable and not getting stressed when there are changes, when they have to learn new things. Actually, we belong to generation. With me, for example, I was entering the university thinking that this is something for life. And I believe that for majority of us, changes is a stressful thing. So those who are seeking for stability and who are looking for stability will be disappointed, because the future doesn't hold any stability. Nothing is guaranteed, and this is connected with the process of a rapid technological changes. The fifth skill is creativity. And we're not talking about, as I've said, about art or things like that. We're talking about any type of creativity. Actually, creativity is connected with new ideas, new solutions, new products, new approaches. And this is in the heart of problem solving. So that's why creativity is included as an essential skill for the future. And one of the most important skills is empathy and compassion. A lot of problems of the 21st century cannot be handled just because people cannot and don't have the skill to collaborate, to communicate efficiently, to feel each other's pain, happiness, and the challenges of the 21st century. I'm sure they presuppose that we are going to work together to create the communities and to create the teams that are able to solve all types of problems. But to be the part of that team, to unite people, we need to be able to feel for them. And that's why the ability to be compassionate is valued more in the future than any hard skill that can be learned and relearned. And the last skill that I want to mention here is self-awareness or selfness. Probably that's the central skill. And around this, it's in the center of the model. And around this, all other skills are developing. When we talk about selfness, it means that we realize who we are. We are able for self-analysis. We are able for self-understanding. We are able of setting our own goals and achieving them. We are able to realize who we are, what we need to, and what we don't need. And the person who is able, and again, this skill is connected with the world that is saturated with information. So we sometimes get lost, even grown-ups, not talking about the kids, in that, and probably we might lose ourselves. What we need, what we like, what we dislike, following the fashion, following the trends, which are pouring from the internet. So being able to be self-aware will allow us to be resilient, will allow us to act, be open and creative. And this is the set of the skills that are included in a new model. Here we come to the question of education, to the key point of my talk today. So is our education is arranged in the way that is teaching these skills to students, to the kids, or probably our education is arranged that it teaches maybe the opposite, absolutely the opposite. So this is a kind of a question, rhetorical question I'm asking, and I believe that we have to, when we talk about education of the future, we have to think about the skills that our kids are going to need within 20 years. And I hope probably my talk in some way provided you with some ideas, with some thoughts about how we have to probably alter and change, update the way we work with our kids. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you, Prof Jamila. Thank you for this informative lecture. Actually, it's stimulated me. Actually, I just you are enriched my curiosity about this lecture, and I have some comments before I leave the my colleagues to have some involvements. So I will start with, actually, it's very important. You have mentioned about the solutions for the automation and vision problem. Actually, I will say it's in vision because it's going to take our place, the human place, everywhere, industrial and everywhere. And actually, the best example for your lecture is the COVID-19. So the COVID-19 is starting to replace the professors in the universities. So all the professors who don't deal with the technology, not know the Google Classroom, using the Zoom, the electronic platforms, they cannot continue with their students. We cannot open classes online. They cannot teach lab using the electronic stuff. So actually, we are infected by our environment. So the COVID-19 starting to taking place of the ordinary professors. Actually, also, I would like to mention it's important to update our curriculum and the universities. It's not just updated it keeping it in update. Should be continuing update. About the solutions you have mentioned for the creativity and the teamwork, I will say I'm lucky, or I'm just anticipated that I start our project to open innovative student center in our university. So we try to asking the creative students to come join them in teamwork, starting to working on multidisciplinary projects. And this is the way, one of the solutions you have just mentioned. And also the teamwork, it's very important. And also there's something you have mentioned about creativity is kind of, you are going to anticipate or expecting the future, what's going on in the future. For as a researcher, many times we have mentioned that any researcher without the IoT tooling, which is Internet of Things, which is the future, the coming future, there's no long life of research publishing. We are going to lose our publishing if you are not going to deal with importance of the IoT, Internet of Things. Like we are going to running our projects, running our system using the internet instead of manually using it. This is very important. I am going to leave my colleagues to have some comments. I will start with Jamal Rasool, please.
Can you hear me now?
Dr. Jamal, I think we met in, maybe I...
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Mustafin.
Nice to see you. Yeah, I mean,
hopefully to see you in Baghdad again.
Inshallah, yeah.
Inshallah.
And thanks for coming today. And I remember our meeting, and I remember you invited me even in Baghdad. I just couldn't make it. Yeah.
Hopefully, well, we hope that you have a time, well, in this year or next year after this COVID-19 will end.
And you're welcome to Kazan too. Thank you.
I wish to go come again. Professor Jamila, please, you told us about what a professor will do in the 21st century. What about the student? My problem now as a professor is the adaptation of the students. Students now cannot well work as I wish. So we must change the schools. We must change the high schools. We must change their lessons or their skills also, or what we can do to go or to meet your skills which you told us about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Jamal. I mean, you know something. If you remember, the last slide was about the skills, and when I talked about the skills which are important, we didn't talk about even like knowledge or their capacity to learn. It was all about their inner, world, their inner skills. So the student, we have to start teaching this to our kids at schools. I mean, primary schools, secondary schools, and then the students that are coming to our universities will be a little bit different. And when we talk about students, the future of the education is about personalized paths. When we talk about personalized paths, it's not only about that we change the curriculum and students are changing what they want. It's not about that. When we talk about really future, is the student who is choosing something like music, biology, and engineering as his skills, and that will allow him to become something unique. He will come up maybe with new product, maybe with new vision of the solution, because the skills he's combining, are extraordinary, are something really unique. And this is interdisciplinary approach is the future, because anything which is standardized can be automated. And as Professor Amjad said, it's not only about like physical activity. Intellectual labor can be automated. Knowledge producing can be automated. So if we talk about real future, I mean, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and the role of education, it's not about just changing the curriculum. It's about changing the system. It's very easy to change the curriculum, but the way we teach has been created 200 years ago. That was another world. But the problem is it's very difficult to change system of education. It's not only that it is very conservative. It's not only about that. The university itself, as an enterprise, as a company, it has very weak connections within each department. For example, in any industry, in any production, departments are so much interconnected, so you can introduce changes and that will change the system. While in university, each layer and each department is more or less independent. We have very, very weak. I can work with my department without seeing anybody, any department, any management for years and do my job. So this makes it very easy to change small things in education. You can change the curriculum, you can change the course, but it makes very difficult to change the system. When the ties are very weak, it's very difficult. So when we talk about like something that is going to, there are some universities who are understanding that. There are some universities who are making this very difficult shifts. But how do we prepare students? We teach them these existential skills starting from school. But are we professors ready to teach our students interdisciplinary courses? Are we ready to collaborate with each other, to become really open? So we probably have to start from ourselves and to acquire all the skills ourselves, because we are still very, very conservative, very, very close to change. Probably we still are not that open, and probably we still don't care about our health, mental and social health as much, so that we can teach it to students. So that's why it's a very complex problem. There is no kind of solution. Probably there is still, it's good that we are just talking about it. I think the more we talk about it, the more we discuss it, the more we come up with these ideas, the more we will come closer to maybe some universal solutions for that.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Jamal. Thank you, Dr. Jamila, for the clarification. Thank you very much. I think we have also Amir Al-Dabbagh. Amir, do you hear me? Amir? Okay.
دكتور عامر الدباغ. دكتور أمجد.
دكتور عامر. دكتور عامر. دكتور نجم.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Thank you very much, Professor Jamila, for this interesting lecture. I enjoyed it very much. Actually, the second question has been answered by you. So I'm going to shift to the first question. To be honest, I didn't hear about this subject until I see your lecture today. I'm just confused about some terms concerning IR4. Is it related to industrial Internet of Things? Or maybe we could say it's a big data? Is it related to Internet in general?
What related? Sorry, I mean
I mean development towards using Internet in everyday lives.
Well, today I was talking about education. I mean, big data, Internet of Things, cyber physical system, they are all parts of one, area, which is called artificial intelligence, or it can be called cyber physical environment. They are all interconnected. So Internet of Things need data, big data, artificial intelligence is processing all types of data, and we use artificial intelligence tools in the industry. So I mean, they're all interconnected. Of course, Industry 4.0 is the industry of big data, cyber system, and artificial intelligence. It's Industry 3.0, it's the programming, it's digitalization. But 4.0 is Internet of Things, intelligence systems, big data. So, and the Internet of Things, it's something that we partly have today, and I'm sure it's going to be our daily life in the future. So,
allow me to just involve in this. I think Dr. Najim's point of view, he's mentioned for if the Internet of Things going to replace human works.
Well, sorry, yeah, I got you. No, I don't think. I mean, when I was.
So, for example, if I have like a lab mate, I am going to just replacing him by Internet of Things.
Absolutely.
I will not going to need him to send me the data or taking the readings for me, because I'm going to depend on the internet.
Absolutely. Internet of Things means that things are going to communicate between each other. So they are going to make solutions for themselves without any human interaction. So of course, today we are going to walk in some German factories. For 20 minutes you walk, you don't see anybody. This is Internet of Things working, and in the future is going to be developed, and they are working towards the solutions with almost zero human engagement with the help of Internet of Things, of course. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Najim. And I think we are about the wrapping up our session today. I will say thank you again to the Prof, Dr. Jamila, and we are really appreciate your time today to give us this important, informative lecture. And actually, I hope our cooperation is going to extend for the future, and we are going to keep in touch. And I will close up this session by saying thank you, and I'm going to
thank you. It was my pleasure. Ma salama.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof Jamila. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you.